Hi everybody. Make sure my audio is working. It looks like it's working fine. Um, yeah, I was trying to download this video and convert it so that y'all could get a different picture, but I decided to just use the version that came directly from YouTube. I, um, I don't know, but anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get started because I have other stuff I need to do and it's getting kind of late. So I'm going to talk today about ethical egoism. Hey, Ashley. Um, because there seems to be this misunderstanding about what duties are. And so I'm first going to define ethical egoism. Ethical egoism is the view which holds that one ought to pursue one's well being and happiness, and that one has no unchosen moral duty or obligation or duty to serve the interests of others, right? Because there's this whole notion that we're born with duties to serve others. And when you ask people what is the basis of that duty, they can never tell you what it is. Um, and all this is going to do is make your life miserable because you can never pursue your own happiness, right? This is what ethical egoism is. It basically posits that the achievement of your own happiness is an end unto itself. And this came from Ayn Rand, but and she stated that this was her original philosophy. But really, what she did is she took Aristotle's philosophy on eudaimonia, right? And that was basically that Aristotle said that you could achieve happiness by living a virtuous life. And she basically just took what Aristotle said and defined virtue as achieving your own happiness, right? So it's she calls it selfishness, excuse me, but it's really about self-actualization. It's about knowing who you are as a person, self-esteem, living for the pursuit of your own values, and not being a sacrificial animal to others. Because altruism is basically the inversion of narcissism, right? Because uh, in order for there to be a narcissist, there has to be someone who is codependent, right? Because you basically get your validation from that narcissist. So you don't have any value in yourself. So you're constantly seeking validation from this narcissist and you're living to please that narcissist. And just as it would be unethical for the narcissist to expect you to live your life for him or her, it would also be unethical for you to delude yourself by thinking that sacrificing yourself to others, putting the needs of others first is virtuous. It's not virtuous. It's what you're basically an enabler. You're living an altruistic lifestyle and sacrificing yourself. It basically shows that you have low self-esteem. You don't value yourself. You're a doormat. Um, and it actually has I don't know. It basically is going to have damaging effects to or deleterious effects on society because, like I said, they go hand in hand. You're an enabler. You're allowing people to not be self sufficient. Um, because they're going to tell you that you should put their needs first, but the people who promote altruism are the ones who are the takers, right? They're going to tell you that you should give, but they're not the ones who are giving. They want you to give because they want to take. So it's basically altruism is a reject of the philosophy espoused by Immanuel Kant and the likes of Peter Sanger. And Peter Sanger, I was just listening to his audio of his, or actually was a podcast where he was talking about how you should give, and basically only keep what you need. And he was speaking from a public policy uh, perspective of giving to other countries, giving of yourself. It's just that, okay, so this is the reason why Ayn Rand's philosophy is so important, because it's not just about individuals. It's also about public policy. When you see yourself as a sacrificial animal enslaved to everyone, live. This is the reason. Part of the reason why people are so miserable, because it's not that you should necessarily harm. At the end of the day, nobody's going to put you above you. So if you don't love yourself, how is somebody else going to love you? You have to put yourself above others. You're the only one who's going to do that. You think that if you put others before yourself, that they're going to do the same thing. They're not. You're going to be their slave. You're going to be their bottom bitch. You're going to have an unfulfilled life. You're never going to become self-actualized. And meanwhile, they're just going to take. I mean, this seems self-evident, but the problem is that we have been programmed to be altruistic. We have been programmed to put the needs of others. Ayn Rand talks about mysticism, which I'm going to, hopefully my internet is okay, but sometimes during peak, I don't know. I don't live in the best neighborhood, like I've said, and sometimes my internet connection isn't great, but we'll see what happens. That's why I was trying to convert it before I came up here, but it's going to take too long, and I have other things to do. But when you put the needs of others before yourself, first of all, it's impossible, because everything is about self-interest. It's just about whether it's in your rational self-interest and whether you're consciously doing it. But even if you're doing it to please others, it is basically selfish. It's just it's not rational, because no sentient being puts the needs of others before their own. Like, humans are the only species that do this, and it's not natural. They've been programmed to do it. It's not even ethical. They're telling you that it's ethical, but it's not. Because again, if it would be unethical for a narcissist to tell you to put their needs before your own, it is also unethical for you to delude yourself to think that that is the purpose of your life. Now, if you're a parent, you voluntarily assume that duty. So I don't like to use the word should, but you should put the needs of your children before your own, because you chose that duty. But there are no duties that come from birth. Just because you were put here on earth, and you don't get to just put duties on people that they didn't consent to. That's not, that's anti-intellectual. It's tyrannical. It's oppressive. Just because I was born doesn't mean I have a duty. That's basically enslavement. Hey, I don't know how to pronounce your screen name. Let me share your comment. Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to share your comment, but for whatever reason, it's not coming up. Okay. Well, I gotta get started. It's not, I don't know why it's not doing this. Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. And it just went away. I still had it. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and play this video, because it's 30 minutes long and I have commentary that I want to add to it. So let's go ahead and get started.
The Psychology of Altruism, a panel discussion with Ayn Rand.
Now from the staff of WKCR, here is your moderator, Arthur Gandolfi.
Good evening. The topic for tonight's discussion will be the psychology of altruism. With us tonight to discuss this topic with Ms. Rand are Mr. Gerald Goodman of the Columbia School of Engineering, Mr. Norman Fox of
Yeah, that's why I was trying to edit it or whatever before, so I could cut that stuff out, but it was going to take too long. So I'm sorry, y'all. Just bear with me. It's going to get started pretty soon.
W. Post College, and Mr. Alan Gotthelf, a student of philosophy at Columbia University. To begin with, Ms. Rand, would you define what altruism is?
Altruism is an ethical system which claims that man has no right to exist for his own sake, that the sole justification of his existence is renders to others, and that self-sacrifice is his cardinal basic virtue, value, and...
Yeah, I just tested the quality of it, and it was playing before I came up here, and all of a sudden it's just acting up. Time of day. Gosh.
That the sole justification of his existence is the service he renders to others, and that self-sacrifice is his cardinal basic...
Okay, I'm going to start this from the beginning because I don't. She's basically defining what altruism is, but I want y'all to hear it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to stop this live stream. Okay, y'all. Just 1 second. Let me see if I can do this from my phone because I want y'all to hear this.
When you appeared on the Les Crane show several weeks ago, perhaps over a month ago, before you were introduced, Les Crane asked some people in his audience, "What do you think of altruism? Are you an altruist?" And there were several people who said yes and suggested or implied that what they meant by altruism was benevolence. That to say they were altruistic was to say that they were benevolent towards others. Now, this is a very prevalent view, and I know it's one you don't hold. I wonder if you would discuss why to be altruistic and to be benevolent is not the same.
Yes, of course. To begin with, this is a package deal spread and fostered by the altruist. It is to their own interest to suggest to men that altruism merely means kindness or benevolence or respect for the rights of others, which it does not. In fact, most people, I would venture to say an overwhelming majority, do believe that that is all that altruism means. So that in effect, if you give a dime to a beggar, you are an altruist. Nothing could be further from the truth, because altruism does not claim that you should help others when and if you can. It specifically claims that you should subordinate your own interests to the interests of others, and therefore that others should take the first place in your life as a moral duty. In that case, kindness is impossible. If it is your duty to give away your last penny to anyone who might need it, you are giving him his due. In fact, altruists would say it is his right to demand your penny. Therefore, it's not an action of kindness or generosity or charity on your part. It is a moral duty.
Okay, so if altruism is a moral duty and you owe this duty to everyone in society, then what's the point of having property in the first place, right? You don't own anything. Everything belongs to everybody. If you have more than someone else, then you should feel guilty. If they steal from you, then it's not immoral or unethical because it belonged to them in the first place. You owed it to them. They were hungry. They needed it. So because they needed it, you're supposed to go without. They chose not to produce. it's like the squirrel who didn't prepare for winter. He didn't gather food for the winter, and now it's winter, and now the squirrel is hungry, and now you're supposed to feel guilty. You stored for the winter, and now you're supposed to go without because they chose not to do that. How is that ethical? How is that? It's not ethical. But they're going to try to make you feel guilty about it. They're going to make you feel like you're doing something wrong because you didn't help this person. When you help other people at your own expense, those people basically become a threat to your survival. And she's going to explain that in further detail.
Duty. Altruism, in fact, makes benevolence among men impossible. Because if you have to regard all other men as mortgage holders on your life, if their claims have to supersede any interest of your own, then you can feel nothing but fear and hatred toward other men, since they are a threat to your own existence. And if you do not satisfy their claims, you have to take moral blame for it. You have to consider yourself morally guilty. That makes
So basically, because they chose not to prepare for winter, you're supposed to feel guilt. You're supposed to feel guilty about it. And there are people who are going to shame you for it. They're going to give you all their sob stories and tell you how you could be doing more religion in it, but I don't believe that religion should be taken literally. But the Bible talks about not giving pearls to swine because they'll take it and attack you. I remember I didn't have a lot of money, but I gave this guy $5, right? And he for providing for you, right? You're standing out here, you got $5, somebody else gave you $2, $3. By the time you finish standing outside begging, you're probably going to have more money than me. So I'm not obligated to give you more than $5. There are times when I give people Christian, I thought, okay, well, let me give this guy, I would give somebody $20. If somebody would give me their sob stories, people were always scamming me, right? Talking about how, oh, I just came from out of town, I'm stuck, I need money to get back home. And I would just give them money because I thought I was going to be blessed by God. And man, I was dumb. But you know what? That's part of, they set you up for this shit. They program you to think that this is what you're supposed to do. And all you do is ruin your whole life. You spend your life sacrificing to serve the needs of others. And then at the end of the day, when you need help, you're on your own, right? You just gave pearls to swine and you really have no one to blame but yourself. Well, you can blame society because they're the ones who programmed you. But if you don't wake up at some point, then it becomes your fault. Am I breaking up? Can y'all hear me? Gosh, y'all, this is why I don't like doing live streams during the day, but I am plugged in. Okay, y'all. Maybe, do y'all want me to stop? Because if y'all can't hear me, then there's no point in me doing this. Let me continue on. I'm sorry y'all can't hear me.
blame for it. You have to consider yourself morally guilty. That makes any kind of authentic benevolence among men impossible. It entails other contradictions. There is no reason why you should consider the benefit of others as a value if you do not consider your own benefit a value. Altruism demands that you regard everybody as a value except yourself. And remember that this applies to every human being. Therefore, according to an
Okay, y'all. If you say it's choppy, then maybe I should end it because there's not much I can do about it. And then maybe I can do it as a pre-recorded video, but I'm not sure. Like, I tried to change the settings, but it's not helping. Let me try one more thing. I may have to end this live stream because it's not working. I have a better connection. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I tried. But can y'all? No, it doesn't seem like it's going in at all. I'm going to. Oh, you're saying it's better now? Yeah, I am using the Ethernet. That's why I'm wondering why you can't hear me. But I am okay. I know what it is. Clear thing. What is that other thing? Um, I'm using Mint. I'm using gosh, what is that thing called? Not Windows, but yeah, I'm using a different software program or whatever. And when I use Windows, I hate Windows. It's always giving me problems. Linux, that's what yeah, that's it works better with Linux, but to go a little bit further, but y'all, man, I don't know how much y'all miss, and I feel like this is, if you can't hear me, then this is bad. Gosh. Okay, one more time. Can y'all hear me right now? Because if you can't hear me right now, you're saying please don't stop. Okay. All right. I am so sorry, y'all. This is not going the way I planned.
No human being has any right to any value, nor to any existence or happiness of his own. He is only has the right and duty to serve others. Therefore, altruism does regard men as sacrificial animals, as object of sacrifice for others. That is not a theory of benevolence for men. There can be no benevolence for men unless one recognizes man's basic right, basic moral and political right to exist for his own sake, neither sacrificing himself to others nor others to himself, which is precisely what altruism denies.
Mr. Goodman.
Ms. Rand, why would anyone accept altruism under your definition of altruism?
Incidentally, very few people do, but the theoreticians of altruism certainly do accept it. Most people ignore the question and simply try to get by in a kind of totally immoral attitude. Most people do not have a consistent moral theory to guide them, a theory which they understand, accept, and fully practice. But the reasons why they accept altruism are many. The main one is that men realize, so long as they have to make choices, that they need some kind of code of moral values, that is, a code to guide their choices and the sort of values and goals that they will pursue. They realize the need, yet they have not been offered any code of morality other than the altruistic one. In one form or another, altruism has been the dominant moral theory of most societies of history, and such attempts as have been made by philosophers to devise a different code have been so impracticable, so unsuccessful that they could not offer competition to altruism. The most people are afraid to be left on their own in moral issues. They are more afraid of it than in any other issue. Men are not afraid to be scientists and to stand alone in the face of nature in cognitive issues, that is, in issues of discovering new knowledge. But they are terrified in issues of values, in having to stand alone and define actively is right or wrong for men. That, I would say, is the most general reason why men accept altruism or at least pay lip service to it. But there are many other reasons.
One common variant of altruism is the belief that you should give only to those who are less better off than yourself, those who are in need. How do you feel this is in relationship to altruism?
Well, here I would like really to refer you to Atlas Shrugged, because I presented the issues there much better than I could do it impromptu here, but to repeat just the essence of it. Your remark is correct. That is what altruists hold, and the result of it is that it makes need, pain, failure, disaster the leading purpose and value in life. In other words, it amounts to the following situation, which you can see politically coming through today.
So basically, everyone becomes dead weight, right? You can't make any progress because the world revolves around those who need. I mean, you're obligated to take care of everybody. You're enslaved to everybody. You can't ever be happy because you're focused on other people's needs. And I am empathic, so it's hard for me to tune it out, but I do it now because I feel like it is necessary for my own survival, because I was ignorant back then and I put other people's needs before my own. And so now when someone's asking me for, they're trying to scam me, they need help with their bills, I say no. Or if someone's trying to ask for a loan, I ask for collateral, because most of the time they won't give you collateral because they don't intend on paying it back. So if you say, okay, I need $300. Okay, what do you have of value that is at least $3? I need your laptop. I need some jewelry. I need something, because if you don't repay me, I'm not going to, it's the moral hazard of now you have it. Now, what incentive do you have to pay it back? No, you're going to have some kind of incentive, or I'm keeping your shit. So, yeah, I don't take people on at their word. I don't try, like, it is what it is. Like, I've been scammed too many times, and it's just, when until you suffer some type of hardship and you realize that it doesn't work the other way around. When you need help, they don't help you. Then you realize that this altruism bullshit is a scam. Like, it's a scam for the benefit of the takers. You don't reap the benefits of it because it never um goes full circle. It goes one way, and then you're the one who's going to get screwed over.
Which you can see politically coming through today. If a man fails for any reason, through his own fault or through accidents, in any case, any failure gives him a mortgage on the lives, the earnings, the property, the services of those who have not failed. And therefore, the result is a hierarchy of values, of which the zero is the dominant standard. To the extent to which you lack any value at all, personal or spiritual or material, to that extent you have a claim on your betters, in particular regard to your failure. To the extent to which a man has achieved values, again, material, spiritual, intellectual, to that extent he is the sacrificial animal for any zero holder, any man who can present his lack as a claim against the achievement.
But wouldn't a person who was a full altruist have to give up his possessions even to someone who is better off?
See, because what it actually, how it works is they shame those who produce, and then they laud those who don't produce. It's like, oh, and it's like, okay, now it's almost like noble to not be a producer. It's like you just get to go around taking, being a bum, and then you're held in a higher esteem than those who actually provide for themselves, those who are self-sufficient. So, and the reason why I'm setting this up, because if I have time, I'm going to be doing another live stream about the thing and the collapsing of the U.S. dollar, and there are people who are not preparing, which I'm not preparing, because I refuse to struggle. I refuse to hoard water and can. I'm not doing all that shit. I'm going to watch everybody else justice enough to where I'm satisfied that everybody gets what they deserve, because they do deserve it. And it's been a long time coming, and I want to see this shit before I go out. So that's the only thing that's motivating me to continue on at this point. But what they're going to do is they're going to try to take. So you have a bunch of canned goods, you stored water. They're going to say, "Oh, I need." You're growing your own vegetables. You're not going to be able to reap the benefits of it, because they're going to come with their children talking about, "I got 5 kids to feed. Um, why should you get to eat when I have kids?" So they decided not to prepare, and it's going to be on you, because you're the producer. You're the one who planned ahead. You store nuts like the squirrels, and they're going to make you feel guilty about it.
Who is a full altruist have to give up his possessions even to someone who is better off than himself?
Well, you see, altruism cannot, in fact, be practiced consistently. A man who is a full altruist would have to find a cannibal village and offer himself as a meal, because that would be the only way in which he could make a total sacrifice for the sake of others, deriving nothing in return. A total altruist is in a contradiction every time he eats, because that morsel of food may be needed by someone else. Because the altruists get out of it by saying that, well, you should reserve for yourself only the minimum necessary in order to go on serving others. But that in itself is.
This is what Peter Sanger said. He was, because at first he was saying you should give, even when you can't give anymore. And then he revisited his previous statements and said you should only reserve enough for you to survive. Like, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said. Like, you should not give to the point where you're putting your own survival at risk. But um, no, but this is. I don't need just enough to eat for today. I need to survive long term. And so if I have surplus, that doesn't mean that I need to give it away to others. I'm still going to need that. That's the reason why you store squirrels. That's why squirrels don't just plan for one day. If you were extremely wealthy, if you earn that wealth without exploiting other people, that is still yours. You don't have a duty to give it to anybody. Man, this is raggedy. My connection just went out, and then I came back on. I was talking, and apparently my mic was muted. I'm running out of time, and yeah, this is not going the way I wanted it to go. I should have stopped it the first time it went bad, because y'all are not going to get what I was trying to give. So I guess I don't have any choice but to keep going, but this isn't going well.
Minimum necessary in order to go on serving others. But that in itself is a contradiction. What is that minimum necessary? And the main issue is why should it be that way? Why should the needs of others have a primacy over your own? This question, incidentally, has never been answered by any philosopher of ethics. And the sole base of mysticism has always, of altruism has always been mystical, namely, the
So mysticism, that means things that are supernatural, like things, religion, based on some mystic, like metaphysical nonsense. I mean, like, and I know I said we are all one, but I don't believe that stuff literally. That's what the Kabbalah says. That I think Mormonism says it, and even Arthur Schopenhauer said it. But obviously, we're autonomous human beings, right? I mean, okay. So Schopenhauer said we're one in terms of the will. We represent the will, but then we have representation. So we're individuals in terms of representation. But some people believe that literally that we are all one, and if you give to somebody else, is the same as, you know, I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily believe that. It makes sense in theory when it comes to harming people, because it does shape society and it always comes back to you. But in the moment where it's either you eat or the other person eats, no, I'm going to choose me over the other person. I'm the one who worked for it.
issue of self-sacrifice to others has to be taken on faith, because no rational justification for it has ever been offered, and nor can it ever be offered.
Is it fair to say that an altruist would have to replace his own values by the values held by other people? And if this was followed generally, that there would be nobody able to hold a value of his own?
Yes, of course. It has been claimed many times, and this is the base of any collectivist dictatorship, that just as you must sacrifice your material possessions or your effort to others, you must also sacrifice your intellectual integrity. So that if you hold to your own ideas of what you believe is true, that is a selfish action. You must sacrifice your mind.
So y'all hear this? If you have your own beliefs and you pursue what you believe, that is considered selfish. You're supposed to go along with the majority. They're telling you some bullshit, i.e., veganism, and I'm just saying that just because that's a recent example, but it could be your choice in fashion, it could be your lifestyle. If you choose to live your life in a manner that suits you, that's considered selfish. You're supposed to sacrifice your own happiness for everybody else. Um, you're not supposed to have your own values, right? That's what being self-actualized is all about. You're supposed to do what they tell you to do. They don't have to convince you why you should. They don't have to present arguments. You're supposed to do it. Be a sacrificial animal. You're supposed to live your life in pursuit of their values, not yours.
You believe is true, that is a selfish action. You must sacrifice your mind to what others believe or want to be true. Therefore, you must always agree with the majority in all issues, because it is selfish to hold out for no better ground than that this is your conviction or the conclusion of your own mind. That, of course, is the basic evil of altruism. It does demand the sacrifice of your mind.
Mr. Fox. Miss Rand, what is a man's estimate of himself implicit in the morality of altruism, and, consequent to that, what are the psychological consequences of trying to accept such an impractical morality as altruism?
Well, the basic consequence is an almost total lack of self-esteem, or as near to total as a man can come and still remain sane and alive. A man who would accept the theory of altruism necessarily has to regard himself as of no value. It is his self-esteem that he has to renounce in every issue.
So the reason why an altruist has self-esteem is, or no, low self-esteem is because they're doing it to seek validation from other people. They're not self-actualized. They need the approval of others to tell them that they're good, and it's some kind of a cult or some type of pseudo philosophy that they were brainwashed into accepting, that they don't even understand. They don't understand the consequences of, but they're going to do it because everybody said it. They're getting validation. They get to belong to a group. They get, in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they get the love and belonging needs, and they get esteem needs. It's not self-esteem, but it's esteem from others. They're getting praise. They're getting a title which can give them merit in society because they lack their own merit. Like they don't have self fulfillment. Right? These are not self actualized human beings.
His self-esteem that he has to renounce in every issue. His self-esteem intellectually, his self-esteem spiritually, his self-esteem in the sense of the desire to make something of his own life, to achieve happiness or to achieve some kind of purpose which he desires. That is what he has to give up. The mere idea of looking at yourself as merely a means to the ends of somebody else, whether it's one other person or the total of mankind, implies lack of self-esteem. That is the start of accepting altruism. And to the extent to which you attempt to practice, you would have to destroy your self-esteem more and more. Now, what most people do is that they abandon morality. They then decide that nobody can be perfect and that we'll sort of model as best we can. I will not attempt to be a perfect altruist, but I will feel guilty and give to others once in a while, which really means an amoral kind of existence, the destruction of any firm principles of morality and any firm base of self-esteem.
Isn't just the holding of an altruist value a selfish action since he's holding a conviction of his own?
No, here you are mixing two categories. You are really guilty of an equivocation.
Okay, so basically, you live in guilt. You live in perpetual state of shame because I mean, they gave you this philosophy which is impossible to uphold, and then you're just going to feel guilty. You can't have any self-esteem because you could have given more, you could have helped more people, you could have sacrificed yourself, you could have laid down and given yourself to feed cannibals. You could have let cannibals eat your arms and your legs, and you didn't need them for yourself. You could have fed all these people. Why are you even existing? You could have just fed somebody with your body. That's the goal of altruism. You don't get to exist for your own sake.
What you are asking here is known as psychological egoism, in effect. That is the theory that since a man has to act, and he cannot act without willing a certain kind of action, anything he does is necessarily selfish because he chose to do it. That is not the standard of selfishness. This merely means a motivated action. But a motivated action is not necessarily a selfish one.
So psychological egoism is not the same as ethical egoism. Ethical egoism. Ethical egoism is intentional. It's an actual philosophy where you set out to pursue your own rational self-interest, but part of that is being self-actualized in the first place. You have to know what your values are. You have to know who you are as a person and what you set to accomplish in your life. So if you're not self-actualized and someone comes and presents you with a bullshit philosophy, you're just going to accept it because they're just filling the void. So you have to know yourself first. So if you decide, okay, my purpose in life is to sterilize people, to prevent human beings from being brought into existence, right? To me, that's what I would like to do. But they're going to tell you the best way to help humanity is to feed starving children while they're continuing to produce more children. No, I have self-esteem and I'm self-actualized, and I don't have to agree with you. The best way to accomplish saving humanity is to prevent humanity from being brought into existence in the first place. So feeding starving children while they're continuing to be brought into existence is not going to affect any meaningful change. I don't have to accept some bullshit philosophy. I don't. Okay, y'all. I'm trying to avoid talking about veganism because I'm trying. I'm losing more subscribers, but I think I'm done with that unless they keep attacking me. But I was going to use that as an example, but I think I already made my point with the last one. How it doesn't really accomplish the goal that they think that it should accomplish. But we're not attacking vegans today. That's not what this is about. It's about living your life in pursuit of your own rational self-interest, and that doesn't mean that you're harming other people. Doesn't mean that you get to be selfish and take and exploit other people. It just means that you get to keep the fruit of your own labor. It's like what I was talking about before, that you exist based in a sense of past, present, and future, and so whatever you produce is a representation of your past. So you need that for your own survival. By giving that away and being guilt tripped into giving away your last dime, these people are a threat to your own survival.
A selfish action, in the proper sense of the word, is an action consciously aimed at your own rational self interest. In order to take a selfish action, you have to demonstrate logically why that action suits your own purposes, what it accomplishes for you. That would be properly a selfish action. But a mere desire, the mere fact that you want to do a certain action, does not yet make it selfish. And most people, in fact, spend their life taking self destructive action, which they do want to take.
Okay, y'all. So I know y'all, most people have been brainwashed to believe that being selfish is unethical, but she's talking about rational self-interest as opposed to being a sacrificial animal. The entire philosophy of ethical egoism is selfishness, and in an intellectual sense. Again, it's about pursuing your self-actualization, about pursuing your own happiness, your own goals, um, understanding that you are not an animal to be sacrificed for the benefit of others. So, um, so don't think of selfishness in a pejorative term. That's not the way that she's using it.
As observe any neurotic who is bound on self destruction, yet he's acting on his whims, on his emotions, on his subconscious irrational urges. That is not the definition of an action. Uh, Emotions are not tools of cognition, nor are they tools of moral criterion. The fact that a man wants to do something does not yet tell us what kind of action it is, whether it is or is not, in fact, for his own benefit, for his own proper benefit.
Mr. Goodman.
Miss Rand, the choice that an altruist offers is either being selfless, sacrificing yourself to others, or selfish, sacrificing others to yourself. Is there any third choice?
Well, you see, it's a false dichotomy right here, because the assumption behind that dichotomy is that man's interests clash, that the good of one man has to be achieved at the price of the suffering or destruction of another, and therefore it's only an issue of whom you sacrifice. This means, as I've said before, that altruists offer you a choice between sadism and masochism. Either you torture.
See, this is the thing. Living life in pursuit of your rational self-interest actually benefits society because it makes you more productive, and then everyone around you benefits. So if you decide that you want to grow vegetables or you want to produce a product, then you can sell it, or you can, other people can benefit from it, but it's not a sacrifice. You're doing it for your own selfish pleasure, or whatever design motive. The same thing when it comes to helping your loved ones. That's not a sacrifice. You're doing it because that person is someone you love and it gives you pleasure, right? It's not the same as giving to a homeless person who has no value to you, who is actually making you late for work, and then you're going to reward him for his or your inconvenience and give him money anyway. um no, you're an enabler, and you are causing um the decline of society.
You torture others or you torture yourself. But it is the metaphysical view of man's position in the world that here has to be challenged. And it is the base of altruism that man exists in a kind of malevolent universe where he is constantly threatened with destruction and disaster, that man is in effect a doomed animal, and that his main concern has to be the avoidance of the doom, the avoidance of disaster, not the achievement of values. And if on this premise, then one has to live, I was going to say like an animal, but that would be an insult to animals because they do not live that way.
Okay, so what she's basically talking about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? At the base level, you have the physiological needs. You need food, shelter, sex, all of those things, right? And she's saying that it should not be the focus of your life. You should be focusing on higher level things of the pursuit of your own values, self-actualization. Um, you're never going to become. I mean, your life. I mean, first of all, our lives don't have meaning anyway. But if that's all you can focus on is providing or sacrificing yourself to provide the physiological needs of others, then your life is going to be even more meaningless, and you're not. It's not going to make you happy. It's not. Um, especially when you're not going to be able to accomplish it. Which, like she said, you're basically just going to live in a perpetual state of guilt because you're always going to feel that you could have done more.
One would have to live by eating others or turning oneself over for cannibals to eat. It is not true that one's own happiness or benefit can be achieved by the sacrifice of others. The idea that selfishness consists of sacrificing others is only a psychological confession of the altruist. They believe that one can achieve one's own benefit by the sacrifice of others, but in fact, and in reality, one cannot. And the legitimate, rational interests of men do not clash. And no legitimate, rational interest can be achieved by infringing the rights or sacrificing the interests of another man. But here I underscore rational interests, which are not to be determined by mere emotions, wishes, or whims. The fact that a man wants something does not constitute a legitimate rational interest.
Mr. Fox. Miss Rand, pursuant to the questions asked before, I would like to know what consequences, if any, are there to a man's conceptual abilities in fields other than morality or philosophy if he tries to practice, to whatever degree, the morality of altruism?
What do you mean here? Do you mean in such fields as economic, for instance?
In any field, any other field of endeavor, does this in any way warp or destroy his ability to think, since this does involve evasions?
It does, of course, because it robs him of incentive and it places him in contradictions. A man cannot do any kind of work intellectually in any realm if his basic standard is what do others want of me and in what way can I.
It's going to deprive a man of incentive, because why would you ever produce if you're going to feel that whatever you produce is going to be taken away, right? You don't, it's like, it's, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it, but she made this example about saving potatoes so that you can harvest them for the next season. Why would you save any potatoes if you're going to have to give them away anyway? Like, it just makes you a slave to everyone else. It's a I mean, everyone becomes a threat to your survival under a system of altruism.
Serves them. In a broader sense, if you accepted that premise, you could not possibly have any sort of progress in a human society. Because the moment a man, let us say, saved a bushel of potatoes from his harvest, instead of investing it in a larger harvest next year, he would have to give it away to those incompetent neighbors who were unable to grow their own potatoes or more often unwilling, because the unable is a very marginal issue in human life and a very small number of people. Predominantly, the issue of need is an issue of unwillingness. Unwillingness to carry your own weight, or the desire for the unearned, the desire to get an unearned share of somebody else's effort, would never be able to rise above the lowest, morally and intellectually, the lowest elements in the population. He would be constantly have to be concerned with sacrificing himself to them. Well, not only would it be disastrous existentially in the sense of stagnation, but it also would be disastrous psychologically. A man could not function on that premise for very long. He would destroy his psychological efficacy for lack of incentive and for being caught in an impossible contradiction.
Mr. Gut Health.
Many people today, after 20, 30, or 40 years of living by the current popular morality, find that they get the most pleasure or happiness in a comfortable relationship with others. By that I mean if they're with people who are generally nice to them, who approve of what they're doing, and so on. And at this point, the altruist steps in and says, well, you see, follow that up. Make others your primary concern, and that's the way you'll achieve happiness and pleasure. Now, would you comment on that?
Well, to begin with, whether people feel comfortable in a certain position or not is not a moral criterion. I'm sure that cannibals feel very happy and comfortable after eating a meal, but that would not be ground to say, you see, this is how happiness is achieved, so follow their example. The mere fact that people feel comfortable in a certain state is irrelevant to the issue of whether that state is moral or immoral, proper or improper to men. Those questions have to be answered cognitively, not emotionally. But more than that, the fact that men want to have a decent relationship with others or enjoy the company of others is not a proof that man is fundamentally a herd animal or a social animal, and that his relationship with others are the primary in his existence, which should then rule his personal view of himself and of morality. A social relationship necessarily are a consequence of your own premises and values, not a primary. Because who is a society? It is only a number of individual men. And you will find, theoretically and historically, that only to the extent to which men recognize and function on the premise of their own individual selfish rights and their own pursuit of happiness are they fit to live in society. Only on that basis can they have benevolent, friendly, cooperative relationship with others. But on the collectivist, altruist premise, on the premise of placing the interests of the group first, you not only do not achieve your own happiness, but you achieve the destruction of yourself and of the group. Incidentally, there's one journalistic issue that I would like to mention here. Just recently, the New York Times.
Activism, it doesn't accomplish the goals of the group or the individual, because basically what happens is there's a leader who is basically telling everybody what their motivation should be. And so you essentially become enslaved to the will of the leader. There, like, you can't have a group that really you can't make everybody happy, right? So you have to pursue your own rational self-interest, and then you also have the freedom of association. So you get to associate with like-minded human beings, and you don't have the obligation to associate with those who are not like-minded. So I don't know how far you can take that, but I don't believe in forced associations. I don't agree with that. I don't believe in I don't know how specific I should be, but it is what it is. Y'all, I mean, hopefully y'all know what I'm talking about, but okay, I'll say it. If women don't want transgenders, oh gosh, y'all, it is what it is. Their society. That's what they decided they wanted. If broader society doesn't have a say on that. Even um, to some extent, I would even say that racially, and I'm not trying to promote racism, but if you have your own society and that's what you decided you want to exclude people. You have a right to freedom of association. Okay, it's no different from having your own house, right? If you have a party and you want to exclude certain people, you have the right to do that. And if you're America and you don't want to bring everybody from the third world to basically come in and reap the benefits of your country and take away your job, get on social benefits, you have a right to do that. That is a freedom of association. And that is especially true when you have a system of statism, because you have finite resources given to an infinite group of people. So it's about survival, right? It's about competing. And if you want to exclude people, in order to protect your own group that you decided to freely associate, that's why I keep telling you I promote nationalism versus statism, because nationalism is a voluntary association, whereas statism is based on force. So you can form whatever association you want if it's free from compulsion. But statism is compulsory, so I'm against that. So yeah, I wanted to get through that whole discussion, but I'm running out of time and things didn't go the way that I wanted. I'm going to listen to this replay because I don't think that it came out the way it should have, and hopefully it wasn't too terrible. But thank y'all for being patient. But if this happens again, I'm just going to stop it because I want to make sure y'all can hear me. And so next time, I have a couple of other videos I want to review, but I need to convert them so that y'all can hear it properly. And then, yeah, I have a couple that I'm going to be doing over the weekend. So thank y'all.